What's poppin', everybody? It's your boy G. You're watching Keeping This Tech, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at the Wayfair Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses. What you'll notice here is that I said smart glasses and not AI glasses. And that's because, in my opinion, these glasses are not AI glasses. There's no AI processing chip in here at all. In fact, what you do have instead are cameras, microphones, speakers, Wi-Fi, and Bluetooth radios, which make these the perfect smart glasses. Now, all of that allows it to communicate back to the app, which that's where the AI lives. I also want to add, and this might be a hot take at the beginning of this video, that the AI portion of these frames is probably the least compelling, and it wouldn't be anything that I would recommend to pick up these frames for. I'll go ahead and share my experiences in regards to that in a little bit later on in the video, but just kind of know that up front, I'm not looking at these from the perspective of them being an AI assistant, because for that, I feel like it's extremely lacking. Now, that being also said, there's going to be a lot of things that I point out that might seem negative, and they probably are, but I won't fault Meta for or Ray-Ban, because I kind of have to remind myself that these glasses were intended to be sunglasses. And if you look at it from that perspective, some of the limitations that you have with these glasses kind of make sense. Now, what would be beautiful is if they end up kind of taking all of that feedback from everybody that wants to use these as everyday glasses and make something compelling. But my real wish is that Apple would jump into the space and create their own versions of this. And for that, I have a wish list that I'll share with you towards the end of the video. But anyway, guys, without further ado, let's get into it right after this. I swear, man, it is never a dull moment. Anyway, I wanted to do this portion of the video outside. I started to, and I'll probably interlace some outside footage over the next section of this video talking about the features. But it started raining, and you're going to hear more about rain towards the end of the video. But either way, we're going to go over the features now, and then after that, we'll talk about my real world experience, what my expectations were versus reality. But yeah, back to the video. All right, guys, so here it is. This is the Wayfair Meta Ray-Ban Smart Case. The glasses are in here, and I'll take them out in a little bit to show you guys around. But you have a USB-C port here to charge the case. The case is what charges the frames. On the back here, you have this emboss button that actually shows you the indication of whether or not the case or the frames are being charged and somewhat the status of it. So for instance, right now, if I push this button, it'll glow orange. Now, it's glowing orange because the frames need to charge. Now, if the frame is completely charged, then it'll glow green. I can take the frames out and then it may still glow orange because the case needs to be charged. If you ever see it glowing red, that means it's low battery and you need to go ahead and get that going. I haven't been able to deplete the charge on the case, so that's a really good thing, and I've had it for about a month now. All right, so going in here, I'm gonna go ahead and show you the inside. You have this nice kind of swathe Meta Ray-Ban logo going on in here, and here is your frames. All right, so you'll notice here right away that at least at the front of the frames, it looks like you have two camera lenses, but in fact, only one of them is the camera, and that's the one here on the left. Now, the one here on the right is an indicator light that lets people know around you if you're filming or if you're capturing photos. You'll get a pulsing white light if you're capturing video, and it'll flash white if you've just taken a photo. All right, now at the top here, you have a shutter button. It just takes photo or video, and you can set that in the app to whether it be a long press to invoke video or photo, depending on what you want to do. There are microphones all around this system here. And I guess you could start from the bottom here. Let's see if you guys could see that. And there's one on each stem. So you have a mic here, a mic here. You also have a mic in the nose area. And it looks like there's a microphone here that's embedded here in the Ray-Ban logo on both sides. So 5 microphones. These microphones work too good, to be honest with you. Now, since we're on this stem here, I think a lot of the battery and the radios are on this side, because on the other side, on this side right here, this is where the touch pad is. You can swipe up and down to adjust your volume. You can double tap, triple tap to, go back and forth on your music. You can actually set it so if you hold it, press and hold it, it'll start an application. In the app, you can set it up to Apple Music, Spotify. You can set it up to go to Hey Meta. There's a bunch of things that you can do here. On the inside here, there's also some sort of touch sensitivity too, because it can sense when it's on your face or off your face, and you can mess around with those settings in the app as well. One last thing here, there's a physical power switch if you ever want to turn these off. That red dot indicates that it's off. If you go ahead and slide that on, then you'll start to see through the peripheral that there's a glowing white light. This glowing white light is also present if you're capturing photo or video. You'll see that it'll glow green real quick to indicate that it connected to my phone. Now, when you turn it off, it'll glow red real quick to let you know that it's turned off. When it turns on, it'll tell you the status of the battery and that it's running. And I can show you that.
Battery 99%.
All right, guys, so let's talk about the fit and feel of these frames. Now, as far as the comfort level, I think that's important for a lot of people. To me, I gotta say, I'd have to give it about a 7, maybe a 7.5. They're not the most comfortable. In fact, after a couple of hours, you feel them on your face and it's like, I'm ready to take them off at the end of the day. I've actually just had them on just to see if I could use them, and maybe it'd be something I just have to get used to, but you feel them on your face. And I don't know if it's just me or what, but a certain way that I adjust them, like the way I place them, I might feel a little bit of pinching and pressure, like right where this is at the back of my ear. So it's just something that I'm also mindful of. Like, I'm actually happy to remove these at the end of the day. And typically that's not the case with the glasses. I wear my glasses from the time that I wake up to the time that I go to bed, and I could be running around for 18 hours, you know what I mean? The other thing that you gotta remember is that you can't adjust these frames at all. What you get is what you get. So if you wanted to make some micro adjustments, you really can't do that. So you wanna make sure that these feel good for you, but they're not the worst, but they're also not that comfortable. I have some nose pads in them to try to make them feel better so they won't slip off. And I think everybody's gonna have a different experience. And I will say the discomfort is not enough for me not to use these frames. Now, as far as the way they look, I love the way they look. I love the fact that these are smart glasses, but they don't look like you're wearing, 3D goggles or whatever. I used to own the Bose audio frames. Actually, I still own them. And there's like this big old bulky thing here, and they look ridiculous now, especially when you compare them to something like this. Now, let's talk about the battery life, because the battery life is probably another part of these that I'm not really happy about, but I can't really knock, Meta and Ray-Ban for the way these work. Because when I think about the intended use of these glasses, the decision that they made sort of makes sense. I mean, these are supposed to be sunglasses. Now, people were using these and like, man, I wish these were glasses that I could wear inside all day long, and you can replace the lenses. And so people were doing that. And so Meta was like, hey, why don't we just give them transition lenses? And so, yeah, if you're gonna be using them indoors and then going outside, you don't have to worry about swapping out glasses or buying two pairs, one for indoors and one for outside. That makes sense. But again, because they were supposed to be just sunglasses, a lot of the decisions that they made with these were based off of that. So you get about 4 hours with these. The idea is that as you're using them, if you need to charge them, you put them back in the case and then you're good to go. As sunglasses, that makes total sense because you're not wearing them all the time. And I kind of see what they're saying, but again, there are people that work outside all day long, or maybe if you're going to go out on a day trip. I've been out with my family all day long, and I'm wearing sunglasses. And so that's when you start to run into problems with this. You're gonna feel like it falls short. And it does, truthfully. All the marketing says you get up to 4 hours. And I found that to be true if you're not shooting any photos or any video. If you're just listening to audio or maybe even on a phone call, yeah, it'll last up to 4 hours. I've actually done some testing where I streamed music and I timed it about 4 hours. It stopped. Recently, I was on a Teams bridge call. 4 hours and 11 minutes, it completely shut off on me. The other situation that I was in, I only got about 2 hours. I was shooting a real estate video and some photos, and I was going from room to room, and I was kind of capturing some behind the scenes stuff. Now, the thing is, I shot, I think it was 10 videos. Each video was 3 minutes long. I was listening to music, and then I was also taking photos. I didn't get past 2 hours with this running, and it was fresh out the case. Now, when this thing is dead, you need the case to charge it. There's no other way for you to plug it in, like say with an outlet or anything like that. And so if you lose this case, you're kind of in trouble. I could see how as sunglasses, putting these frames in the case and letting them juice up a little bit while you're indoors and then going back out is not a big deal. The problem is, I don't think most people want these frames for sunglasses. I think they want to use them as their everyday eyewear, which is what I want. Now, because of that, I can't knock Meta because that's not how they intended these to be used. That being said, with the features that they have in here, the way that they're marketing these, how else would you want to use them, right? Wouldn't you want to use them all the time? Let's just say the Meta AI portion of this thing was going to be amazing. Well, if you have that Hey Meta feature running the whole time, it's going to drain your battery. If you're taking photos and videos, here and there, you're going to get way less than 4 hours. And if you're just streaming audio, you're going to get about 4 hours. But what about if you want to do a little bit of everything? You're going to get way less than 4 hours. And that example of letting these run for just 2 hours, man, are you kidding me? If you think about it, like, it's just one of these things that is like, that does kind of suck, you know? So you want to keep this case on you because this is the only way that you can charge it. Also, these cases are really expensive. In fact, I looked into getting a replacement or maybe a secondary one. They're $100. So yeah, if you lose your case, then you're out of luck. Just remember that. Now, the good thing about this case is that it actually holds a charge for a long time. That's a plus. And I will say again, this is the most futuristic part about it, just because it freaking glows once you put it in there. Like, that's awesome. All right, guys, so let's talk about the camera quality, right? Because camera quality is a big deal. And I gotta say, I'm actually surprised with the capability of these frames. Now, these pictures are not gonna blow you away, but they're actually very decent, especially if the photos are being taken outdoors. Inside, they could be a little smudgy, a little watercolory because there's a lot of noise reduction. You can tell they're trying to do stuff with stabilization, so sometimes it can be motion blur in the photos, which is, I don't know, it's kind of neither here nor there. But for smart glasses, there's not too much more that you can, I guess, expect. Think of these like smartphone cameras, iPhone 12, iPhone 11, if you're an iPhone user, and they're not bad. And I will also say that Meta is actually doing AI processing to the photos when they come into the phone. So that's really good too. I should point out that these have 32 gigs of storage built into them. So, you know, I was able to record 30 minutes of video in that real estate photo shoot. So that's a lot of content that can be captured on these frames. Now, it's actually the number 2 reason why I went ahead and picked these up. Now, I want to say the idea was that I'd be able to use these frames to capture behind the scenes content. And I wouldn't have to worry about getting a secondary camera or setting something up to capture that content. I'd be able to catch POV stuff. But really, realistically, I'm not going to be able to be on a shoot all day and have this kind of be as my BTS camera. As much as I would want that to be the case, the battery life is just too limiting for that. Now, on a personal level, I really wish I had these frames when, you know, kids were toddlers or babies even, because, you know, any parent knows what I'm talking about. Your kid is doing something super cute. You want to capture that moment, but they see the phone as you're trying to capture that moment. They stop doing what they're doing and they go for the phone and the moment is gone. So, you know, having these around would have been dope. And I think if you're a parent that has young kids, then something like this might be beneficial for you, for real, for real. Now, the cool thing is, and this I think is a feature, but unfortunately I'll never take advantage of it because of, you know, privacy issues. But think about this. You can just say, hey, Meta, take this photo and then send it to Justine. It'll take the photo and send it to Justine. But the way it does that is not really okay with me. It doesn't just take the photo and send it from my phone to Justine. It'll actually take the photo, upload it to the Meta servers, and then send it over to Justine. Now, I guess Justine needs to have WhatsApp, and so do I. And so there's a lot of conditions there, but there's way more people or things involved than I want to be if I just want to send a photo to Justine. I might as well just take the damn photo myself and then send it to Justine. What I'm trying to say is that depending on how you are and what you want to use with this, some of these features may not even be applicable to you, right? Because of the way that it is. So take that for what it is. All right, let's talk about audio. Audio is, again, one of these things that kind of surprised me. The audio from here sounds really good. And for the most part, if you're in an office or inside, you know, you're going to be able to listen to your music or listen to your podcast, and nobody will know really what you're listening to. You could turn the volume all the way up and people will start to hear what's going on if they're in proximity. I find that it's not really going to take away AirPods and earbuds, and headphones are still going to have their place because it's not going to give you that immersive experience. Also, if you're outside and things are happening around you, a lot of times what you're listening to can get drowned out by everything else. So it's not really the best for being in like really loud environments. It's still great. It's still something that I use all the time. And it's the number one reason why I picked these up, was because of the audio capabilities. The issue with these frames, and I will have to give flack and knock off some points, whereas I couldn't do it for the battery, I'm definitely going to go ahead and do it for this issue here. And that is the waterproofing. How are you going to tell me that these glasses can't get caught in the rain, or else they're non-functional afterwards, right? Or if I'm at a water park, or, you know, doing outdoor activities, jumping into the pool, getting things like, it's like, you mean to tell me that these glasses are going to get damaged? There's no way in the world that these should not be some sort of water resistant. And while they may be splash proof, they're not going to be able to hold up with a rainstorm. I'm in Florida, and if you're from Florida, you know what I'm talking about. To be out and about, beautiful clouds in the sky, blue skies, and all of a sudden, darkness, rain, 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 and then it just goes back to being normal like it never rained. That happens. So obviously, I'm out, sunglasses, get caught in the rain, and now my glasses are damaged. It just stinks that that's the case. That you have to be mindful of that, right? Wait a minute, I can't get my glasses wet. Like that sounds stupid. It sounds really dumb. But again, that's just my take on it. And for the next iteration, they should be better. I know that Meta actually released brand new frames with Oakley, and from what I'm reading, they didn't improve on the water resistance, which is an absolute fail. Anyway, I'm just saying that they should have better waterproofing. Okay, so here is my wish list for the Apple version of smart glasses, or if Meta and the people at Ray-Ban would do something special. I feel we absolutely got to start off with battery, right? Battery should be running for at least 18 hours. And maybe, Meta and the people at Ray-Ban can't do it with their technology, but Apple should absolutely be able to pull something like that off. They should have the same battery life as the Ultra Watch, as far as I'm concerned, the Apple Ultra Watch, because they have the low power chips. If you're going to be capturing photos and video, you want it to be able to do it in a significant way, right? Even if you're going to take them off when you get home and put on regular glasses, but 8 hours absolutely has to be the minimum for mixed use and all that other stuff. And I think if anybody could pull that off, it would be Apple. The other thing that I would want for is just better image processing. I think Apple, of anybody, can go ahead and pull off some killer stuff with photos. They can absolutely make better photos, better videos. Maybe they can even do it in landscape mode instead of just a portrait mode. And so giving us that option, and they would be incentivized to do something like that anyway, because they have the Vision Pro and all that other stuff going on. So why not be able to incorporate, cameras with lenses and I don't know. I think they could really pull that off. The other thing that I would want them to do is make it, some sort of IP rating that allows it to be resistant to rainstorm. I'm not talking about swimming with these things, but I am talking about like if you get caught in the rain, you don't have to worry about your stuff getting damaged. And of course, I know Apple would absolutely kill it and crush it when it comes to audio. Their audio technology is insane. So why not do that? Now, I know we're talking about, cameras, and we're talking about, speakers, and technically you got cameras on the iPhone and you have AirPods, and maybe, a great pair of frames would cannibalize some things, but Apple has never been afraid of cannibalizing their own products, and hopefully they still feel the same way. And I would jump over to Apple any day of the week, because I could imagine me saying, hey, send a photo to Justine, and it would just send the photo to Justine, and I'd have no problems, no concerns about privacy. You know what I mean? And I will also say this. I mean, maybe this is just my take, hot take. I think privacy at this point is just an idea that may not even be existent anymore, realistically. Like, I mean, if you're concerned about privacy, you probably shouldn't pick these up. I mean, they are owned by Meta. And one of the things that I don't like about them is that when there are software updates, sometimes the default settings will go back to what you changed it from. So I'm constantly having to like go back and fix everything the way they were. And I will say this, since I've had these, they've had 3 major updates. It's just something to be mindful of. The Hey Meta feature is something that I absolutely turned off, because number 1, it's listening all the time. And then number 2, it's draining the battery. And number 3, it's not even that useful. I had a situation where I had like a tortoise outside of my back door, and I had no idea what it got there. I didn't know what type of tortoise it was. And I'm like, hey, let me get my glasses. Let me see what they are. So I'm like, hey, Meta, what is that? And it told me it was a turtle. I'm like, what kind of turtle is that? And it told me it was some Chinese turtle from China. But I'm in Florida, so how is a Chinese turtle here in Florida, right? And it was completely wrong. And I dismissed that thing altogether. So here are my final thoughts on these frames. At the end of the day, there's so many things that could be better about these frames. But much of those things, admittedly, are because I'm wanting to use these frames as they weren't intended. But I'm also wanting to use these frames as they were marketed. And that's when you kind of hit that Instagram versus reality, right? It's like not everything is equal. And it'd be really cool if they could kind of live up to that promise in a future release. And I'll end it off by saying this. If I'm being honest, I'm a bit biased. Now, I'm not biased towards Meta because I could care less about Meta, to be honest with you. The same way I could care less about Meta, I could care less about Ray-Ban. These are the only Ray-Ban frames that I own. But I'm biased at the idea of these frames or frames like this. Now, the truth is, the frames that I want don't exist yet, right? Technically, this is the only version of the frames that I want that exist. And because I want these frames and this product to exist so bad, I'm willing to deal with the discomfort. I'm willing to deal with the short battery life. I'm willing to deal with the lack of waterproofing and figure out a way to make it work because I like the idea of smart glasses. I think that's super cool. Now, until somebody comes along and makes a product that is going to be everything that I want, these will just have to do. So I don't know if I'd recommend them. I'd recommend them if you like the idea of smart glasses. But if you want to go ahead and take advantage of all of the marketing features, everything that they talk about, you may be disappointed. Thank you guys for watching. I'll check you guys out in the next one. Peace.